me say good morning. Good morning to listeners and viewers. Welcome to The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. It's Wednesday, the 3rd day of July, and it's another edition of To The Point. I'm your host, GT. Let me say good morning to my guest, the Honorable RedHead, with us this morning. Honorable RedHead, good morning, sir. How you doing?
Morning, GT. I'm doing well, and it's a pleasure to always attend the GBN's To The Point program. Historically, I have always, I think that's where I made my debut in terms of public, and engagement interviews.
It's always a pleasure to have
always
you.
A pleasure.
It's always pretty decent. If foolish for a simple word, conversation every time we hear. And I certainly do appreciate you coming on the program. Once the opportunity is presented to you, you grab onto it. So, there's lots been going on this week. I want to talk about that. We've been hearing, the great reviews and so forth of the Afro-Caribbean, Expo and Forum and Expo that has taken place in Grenada right now. Tell us about that. I want you also specify for me the benefits that revive for Grenada and also the Caribbean islands in general. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about that, sir.
Well, no, I think the last 2 days has proven to be one of the most fruitful days for Grenada, and I dare add for the Caribbean and the relationship between the motherland Africa. I think it augurs well for our future developments, notwithstanding the circumstances that presented itself within the last year in terms of the global situation and its high levels of uncertainty. This provides some level of stability, both from a business and economic standpoint, and also in terms of our own relations with our region. That is the Caribbean and its ability and potential to invest in Africa and vice versa. So I think there are many benefits that will be derived. One such benefit that I could immediately speak about is the question of a center of excellence.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Grenada, since the Honorable Prime Minister formed the government in June of 2022, we have embarked upon creating what is known as delivery units. So you have Project Polaris, where you have a project sponsor to deliver on the project of the new teaching hospital. And so Center of Excellence, that has been something that the Afrexim Bank has just announced that is going to occur. And we are satisfied that in line with our model of development, that this is something that we can see be achieved, and we are confident that it's going to bring benefits. There are several areas in that Center of Excellence, and it will be multiple institutions that will be created. So one would be for cybersecurity, another would be for in terms of carpentry, and that place up in St. Patrick is the area that we have earmarked for it to be a furniture and industrial design center of excellence. We also would be working on an center of excellence for oil and gas and sustainable energy. We would also be working on a center of excellence for agri, tech and food processing, and finally hospitality. So in relation to cybersecurity and digital innovation, we have already started the training where we were able to train some Grenadians in the area of the basic preparation for building the capacity for cybersecurity. And that graduation occurred maybe about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
All right. And so we have begun there to see the benefits, and see the benefits not in the sense that it is just coming in the form of dollars and cents, but practical benefits to which Grenadians are benefiting, which can help bolster our capacity to forge ahead for the future.
All like you said, when are we going to see some serious roll-off? It's always good to hear about these things, but they roll off, the implementation. Are we going to see this in the next 6 months, the next year or more? That sense of excellence and all that encompasses a lot. When are we going to see some serious roll-off in that?
The issue of implementation was squarely highlighted yesterday, in fact, at the conference. I think most of the world leaders agree, and particularly the Caribbean who attended, they all agree that the issue is implementation.
Yes.
And so what we are satisfied with to announce at this point is that question of a center of excellence. We are confident that we will be rolling this off soonest. I don't want to give an exact date, But the expectation is that the question of training, it has already commenced. It's now a question of organizing it and doing it in a way that Grenadians can benefit, have access to it, and we can be able to turn out and bolster the capacity for employment, that question of the supply of labor. So we are confident that in this stead, that is going to happen. There are other benefits which were derived, and we will talk about in future. So for example, the direct flight, the Ethiopian flight, which came to Grenada, the question of trade. But for trade to occur, you have to, as Mr. Dangote mentioned, have the establishment both in Africa and also the Caribbean.
Yes.
So there must be a nucleus that you're going to and from, because you cannot have a situation where Africans are coming to the region, but nobody from the region either has the capital or the interest to go to Africa. So we must first establish those linkages, build the infrastructure, and then be able to have that trade occur in a seamless manner. So you heard, for example, the discussions about visa waivers, etc., etc. It will take center stage in one of the upcoming regional conferences of the Caribbean leaders. And again, more than likely, it's expected that a decision will be made in terms of potentially visa-free travel between the Caribbean and Africa. So we can expect to see rollout. And I'll give the example of COVID, where the question of digital education was somewhat, alien to universities doing their online degrees, etc. But when COVID came, we had to implement it full scale, large scale, throughout many territories throughout the world. And so I give this same example to suggest that now we have the question of the uncertainties, the economic uncertainties, right, looming, tariffs, etc. There is a possibility that this union that was so much expressed in the last 2 days at the conference is something that will be sooner rather than later.
Happy to hear that. I wanted to also still keep a little bit on the of course, the forum, the exhibition, the expo part of it. And I'm seeing lots of our local, producers and so forth participating. I'm hearing the stories of the friendship that they have created and so forth. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? So personally, and as a government, to see of what we have here been produced and the feedback they've been getting, especially from other countries of the world, especially the African folks who are interested in products from Grenada. How does that make you feel?
No, excellent. It feels good for the Grenadians who got the opportunity. About over 400 thereabout Grenadians registered for the expo. This is one of the largest in terms of the amount of delegates that we've had on the island. And as such, this conference highlights our capacity probably to even break that record in the future. And so it was a golden opportunity to see how things are done from a world professional angle, and it could be done in Grenada. Normally these conferences, only about 5 people could get the opportunity to go and travel and show, but now you had over 400 Grenadians registering to participate in that. And I thought it was an excellent opportunity. I think what we need to do is to continue building upon that and create the database, for example, work that database so the Ministry of Economic Development can now say these are small business enterprises that we have in Grenada to which we can utilize to grow and expand and do a lot more in terms of developing a solid business class in Grenada, one that is able and capable to withstand economic externalities and at the same time be able to produce sufficient so that we can consume whether goods or services. So it's an opportunity for us to see things on a larger scale. There was the opportunity for young Grenadians as well to get the opportunity to see how this is done in terms of organizing for a conference. So we had many chaperone officers, all of them young Grenadians. And I'll give you a remark that was made about them. When the Afrexim Bank team saw them, they said that they still had milk on their faces. So it was a golden opportunity to provide several
services,
several,
and in a professional manner also.
In a professional manner. So it's wonderful. And so Grenada has benefited tremendously. For the record, I would like to say thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, for his vision of, in a sense, uniting Grenada, the rest of the Caribbean, with our motherland, Africa. And you heard his ancestry as well is from Ghana. So he's not just talking it, but he has actual roots there now, as having been confirmed. So it's a golden opportunity, we believe, and a start in the right direction.
All right. Well, of course, we drew for a break. Let's take it. We come back. We still have much more to talk about. Stay with us, folks. To the Point Classic Radio, GBN TV. We come in right back after the break. Don't touch your dial. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. Look.
Remembering our past, reclaiming our roots, empowering our future. On August 1st, Grenada will rally with the Global African Diaspora to celebrate Emancipation Day.
Bring down the power of love, I say. Bring down the power.
Let us bring down the power of freedom as Grenville comes alive with exciting cultural performances, exhibitions, food, fashion, and great speeches on August 1st. The day celebrations commence at 6 a.m. with an emancipation breakfast at the Grenville car park. At 4:30 p.m., the traditional mass bands will assemble at Dunfermline and head for Grenville, while the school marching bands will leave Progress Park at 5:30 p.m. and parade down to Soubise for the spectacular Flambeau March into Grenville at 6:30 p.m. At precisely the stroke of 8, the spotlight shifts to the Grenville bus terminal with an action-packed program of cultural presentations from the National Performing Company, Spiceland dancers, cultural train, Lion Pride, Tivoli drummers, spoken word poets, and top local calypsonians. There will also be a special reenactment of the Emancipation Proclamation. So put on your African wear and come to Grenville in your numbers on August 1st and bring down the power of love and freedom as we celebrate our emancipation. Buses available nationwide. Contact your parliamentary offices.
Bring down the power of love, I say.
I'm in. Are you? Here at the Queen's Park Recycling Facility, we process your waste for export. Cardboard, plastics, aluminum, glass, and more. Let me speak to you about cardboard. Cardboard boxes should not be brought to the landfill. Large business are required to bring cardboard boxes directly to our Queen's Park Recycling Facility. Smaller stores are required to break down cardboard boxes and place for collection at the agreed time with the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, and we will do the rest. Support recycling. I am in. Are you?
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call Glenlec at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. Make sure your generator has an isolation switch. It will prevent power from feeding to our lines and electrocuting others. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, once again to the Point Classic Radio, GBN TV. And I certainly did forget to mention our, of course, online listeners and viewers this morning who always take the time out to chime in with us on today's program. Thank you so much for being with us. Certainly do appreciate that a whole lot. And stay with us, of course, for the entire program. All around, RedHead, welcome back. Welcome back once again. There's a critical problem issue that's going on right now that I want to get your views as a MP, your views of being part of government also. The gun issue in Grenada, sir. It's becoming a problem.
Yeah.
Speaking in flat terms of saying it. What does government decide to really do about this issue that is taking place? It's not a thing that we want to be hearing on a weekly basis. It's not that we are prone to that. There are countries who have it worse than us. But 1-2 is always too much.
That's correct.
We've seen the issue last year. We heard about the amnesty, and some were saying with the amnesty and everything like it hasn't made a big difference, or it hasn't made a dent, even though it may have. But we're not seeing a lot of the stoppage in an entirety for a small country as Grenada. Your say on this?
Right. Well, I think my say as a member of Parliament of the National Democratic Congress administration and its public relations officer is that we condemn every and any act of violence, and in particular this issue of gun violence, which seem to be something that is becoming a little too common for some, notwithstanding that in the grand scheme of things it's still down, as you mentioned, compared to other countries, other islands neighboring in the region, but we are very much concerned with it. The government, in its original policy, is keen on peace, right? And peace has to translate into real actions, and the government is doing its part to ensure that it keeps the streets safe by enacting specific laws, legislation, ensuring that programs such as the gun amnesty, that it yields some kinds of benefit for removing illegal ammunition and weapons off the streets of Grenada and maintaining our peace. So we are doing our part, but I think the judiciary needs to step up and ensure that it is doing its part to enforce the law, especially when gun cases do occur. I think it is a big travesty to say that the government, the legislators, did its part to pass the bill and to encourage the enforcement and promotion of the elements that will hit out in the bill now act. And when it comes to certain high-profile criminals, that they are receiving no jail time, that they continue to remain on the streets and continue to, in some instances, fuel and influence what is taking place. I do not have any special information as to what is causing these gangs to engage in their warrant, but I would say to them that many of them have children, many of them have family members, many of them, I believe, want to still live a decent life and earn some cash and to be able to pay their way, pay their bills, etc. And therefore, a life of crime, drugs, guns will not end well and will ultimately endanger you and your family. And in life, you have to choose which path you are willing to go down, not because you believe that all has ended, but because you believe that you'll be able to leave a good mark on society. And I'm saying it doesn't matter where you start, even if you were born into a life of crime, you do not have to continue that life. And this question of gang violence, and in particular the drugs and the gun. So I am calling for all society, on behalf of the NDC, approach to this. The government is doing its part. We are serious about it in terms of maintaining the peace. The churches, the judiciary, and all other institutions that are stakeholders in maintaining the peace must do its part to ensure that they keep and continue to keep Grenada safe. The fact that we have had safety for the conference the last 2 days is a testimony and an important feature as to why we need to keep Grenada safe. And so all of us in society needs to play our part and our role to do that. And in particular, I'm calling on the judiciary to ensure that they preserve the law when sentencing.
Yeah.
When sentencing.
Because, we instances of what we've seen, we cannot allow this to deteriorate any further.
Correct.
Even though it's a simple 2 case or 3 case, you never know, tomorrow it could be another two coming up in the next couple of days or so. We cannot allow that for this beautiful island of ours, man.
Correct.
Yourself as being a Grenadian, myself being a Grenadian, we love this island.
Correct.
We love this island. I don't think there's a Grenadian who do not love this island.
Correct.
And sometimes you hear the conversation that are out there, and folks who may not understand may give the impression that things are really that bad. Yeah. I know you've been hearing the conversation yourself. People give the impression that things are that bad in terms of what we've seen going on. So I just hope that, as you mentioned, the judiciary and other sectors in society will make some examples.
Yeah.
I think that's what is needed. Some examples. I heard of one the other day with an individual being sentenced to a number of years, but sometimes that is just a small dent in that huge curve that we're seeing. So much more needs to be done that folks will just think twice. And I think conflict resolution is another thing that a lot of attention needs to be put into.
Yeah.
Individual having their issues, and sometimes we don't know what's the reason for an individual having their problems.
It could be a deeply rooted problem, but
something from way back or whatever it happened.
That's where the psychologists.
It's not the way we want to see it being resolved.
Correct.
In our little trial and so that's the concern I have more or less with it.
True.
More or less with it, and it's something that you hear a lot of citizens talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When this conversation comes about, it worries you for some reason or the other. I mean, we know our children over there, and it's not a conversation we want to hear embedded in their minds. There are more important things certainly to them to focus on. That here in conversation, of course, there's violence and violence and violence. That is certainly not what we want to hear at all. It's this is what we call good conversations. Good conversation. It's to the point here, Classic Radio TV on the road running with me this morning, and of course we just have to touch. I just wanted to touch on that to just get a feel of how you feel about it. And the conversation that we had among other members of cabinet and how they feel about it also. I know no one is happy about that.
No, not at all. It's a serious concern.
All right, so we're moving on. We touched the African flag. We just touched the gun issue. Of course, you briefly talked about, not briefly, but you did state a little bit about the Center of Excellence, and which is something I'm happy about to come around, and I certainly hope it reaps a lot of benefit for this little beautiful Spice Island of ours. We want to see ourselves moving forward and continue to move forward as we move along in this island. I want to touch a wee bit on your constituency. Tell me what's going on in the constituency right now.
Yeah. So far, first up, let me say good morning to the lovely people of St. George Northeast. I want to start off by acknowledging the passing of Jim, popular bus driver from Boca.
Condolences to his family.
Yeah, condolences to his family, his wife, and everybody. His brother Jimmy. Keep strong. Things do happen that we cannot explain, but just know that once you trust in God, all else will come into light, and you will get to understand the struggle and overcome it eventually. So I want to say to them, be strong, the community, his friends, his family members, be strong during this time of sadness. As we speak, I'm getting ready, once I leave the program, to go and open, along with a small business owner, a new business in St. George Northeast, Monge, my home community. That would be done. We are doing as best as we can to wrap up the flood mitigation program through the Ministry of Infrastructure, MIT, to ensure that the issue of drainage in particular is not resolved. And should we be threatened with any major weather event, particularly extreme rainfall, that the constituency is in a much better place to be able to avoid a number of roadblocks, water overflowing, etc., etc. So we've done a great job, and I want to commend a lot of the contractors who gave yeoman service. In some instances, some of them are yet to receive payments for projects that they did, particularly with some of the more community inner roads and drainage systems. And this is critical because where we see it, the question of the runoff when homes are built is something that was not being managed properly. And from a policy standpoint, I think we need to enforce that when you build a home, the issue of the runoff and the drainage is something that is looked at seriously in terms of the impact it will have on the community that you reside in. So we've been working a great deal on that. We have ongoing at the Boca Secondary School the training program, particularly targeting young single mothers to empower them so that they can receive a CVQ level 2 in the area of office administration. This is something that, in addition to all the other pilot programs that we have started, that we are very happy for, because it is people-centered, people-focused. Just Saturday last, we held a session up in Willis, particularly targeting unemployed young people who would like the opportunity to have NULO, TAM-CC, all these other institutions come to them, and so that they could sign up. Now, I didn't hear such a large turnout in that, and then I hope next Monday morning I don't hear somebody calling and say about people in hard work, etc., because you see, sometimes we major in minor, and we make everything about politics in the country, or partisanship in the country, when in truth and in fact, the answers, the opportunities are lying right in front of us. And for some strange reason, people do not take it and believe that you can live your life blaming a politician all day or days of your life to say why you didn't develop. And so this is a fight, when we talk about it from a mental standpoint. So I'm confident that we have been able to successfully implement the majority of our plans. Vendom playing field is going to be lit the first few weeks in August. We will commence the work for erecting the performance lights at Vendom playing field for the first time in its history, and this will augur well in terms of activities for the young people, sporting activities, clubs, etc. So it will increase now the number of playing fields that we have lit. Good hope we should resolve the issue there in the shortest possible time. I did receive an update from the contractor only recently about it, and I will try and follow up. The last 2 days with the conference, we've been a little busy. So on the question of sports, we are satisfied that what we met, we have been able to enhance, transform. We still have some outstanding stuff to be done. For example, the expansion of the Boca hard court and the redoing of the Boca project with the playing field. That is something that is going to be advanced hopefully in 2026 and should be completed by then.
So you spoke a whole lot there, and I'm certainly happy to hear of some of the projects that you have mentioned, and of course it's all good for the constituency. Sometimes I follow social media and I look at the contribution that residents are making, and some of them are a bit concerned, especially are they stating their dissatisfaction sometimes, the amount of level of stop and unfinished projects in the constituency. Give me your feedback on that. What is really causing these project starts uncompleted, left for a period of time before it starts again? What is really causing these problems?
Well, I cannot say that we have that as a problem where we're starting stuff and stopping it. We certainly inherited some projects from the past administration which had serious concerns, which we've been able to resolve altogether at this point. And the majority, I think probably the only one I would say is the Boca playing field, which we have to resolve. And we have resolved. Matter of fact, we are in the phase of ensuring that we get the different costing for doing the project over. In fact, the drain that was constructed is just a mosquito catchment, for example. All right, and apparently there was no drawing or design for that project. Beneath the bleachers that was erected is another mosquito catchment. Right, water is settling; it's not running off properly. The road lower down is difficult to, and people had to start driving on the playing field itself. And so this project caused more problems than it resolved it, because it was to an extent not prepared properly, lack of technical knowledge, drawing, etc. That was not done. So we have to redo that altogether. It was not a major priority given the fact that we were building out some of the easier playing fields first, and then coming to tackle this one because it will need a whole new redesign, because it requires a new access road for the residents living beneath the playing field, and also an upgrade to the standard size basketball court for the students and community.
All right, great. There's also the conversation in terms from constituents. They're not seeing you much, sir. I don't know if there's any truth to that. Folks are saying that I'm not seeing Ron in the constituency, or even in your office. Sometimes a very long period of time. What's the reason for the no-show, as they're saying?
No, well, there's no no-show. I think to each his own. There is no way that I would be able to target everyone at the same time, but rest assured we are coming. It's just 3 years, and so we have, what I can confidently say is that every polling division, the 9 PDs in St. George Northeast have been able to receive my visit in specific areas, and we have commenced projects, programs, etc. in those areas. I often go alone. I'm not the person who likes all the fanfare all the time. Maybe that's a drawback, but to be very honest, to go to and from my home, I have to pass right in front of my constituents. I'm not living outside of the constituency. I'm not living on the borders of the constituency. I live in the heart of the constituency, and
I guess the consensus is more that some folks are complaining they come to your office, they come to the office, they're not seeing you in there. I think
that's well, I don't know. That could never be true because I'm there. My office is open 5 days a week. In some instances, even on the weekends. All right. We work. We are committed to serving our constituency. We see on constituency days at Thursdays, approximately sometimes we see even as high as 70 individuals. The office sometimes closed. The latest the office closed was 11 p.m. Right, and that's when we facilitated the question of the wash program, by the way, which will be coming after the carnival season. So we will commence the wash program in St. George Northeast after the carnival season. So a lot of work went into that, and even just to plan and prepare for the flood mitigation program, which we've unleashed, for the last 3 years. Lots of work went into that, but I dare not say that, if somebody raises that concern, I try to make myself as accessible as possible. I don't utilize cell phones that much, so if you need to see me, you have to come and check me by the office, or as some people do, they come and check me home, that kind of thing. Whether it's 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock. But I'm always there. I'm always interacting with constituents, even if I go into the supermarkets, etc. I'm always there. So, I don't know if anybody says that.
Maybe it could be, but it's just one of those conversations out there, so I just thought to ask. What's the latest with that development of that bus stop in Mungase? What is the latest in that particular event?
Well, I have to speak to my community liaison officer. I am scheduled to meet her a little later this afternoon, so hopefully when I speak with her, we'll discuss what are some of the other community projects that we have outstanding in terms of updates.
Okay, great. We drew for a break. Let's take it. We come back. We continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. Classic Radio GBN TV. We coming right back. It's to the point. It's Wednesday, the 30th day of July. We will be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, it's me, Marlon Rennick of Connects, shipping company that provides all your shipping needs. We are here on the spot. Spice up the Carnage, so come on up. Hey, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, showcasing all our local talents. You might even see me singing a soca. So come down, join us on the Carnage. As you can see, there are going to be giveaways, fun and excitement. Please, don't miss it. Come down, join us. Carib Connect, along with GBN on Spice Up the Carnage.
Hey, Shorty, who they talking to? Telling me that we can play my Who they talking to? Telling me that we can play my. It's like intercall with a relay. The mass must never be in there. Watch each job living our victory. We don't pay for mass and it's free. Fly the Jones swoosh, it's Lava Man, and you already know the energy. It's all about GBN Spice of the Carnage Soca Mona competition. This year is going to be greater, bolder, more exciting than ever. And it's all about the quarterfinals on the 25th of July. The 31st of July will be the semi-finals, and August 8th, finals. Artists, if you think you have what it takes to own the stage, now is your chance. Get there, be there, see you there. Lava Man, the real mad one. Fly the Jones swoosh.
GBN Spice of the Crown and Soca Mona competition.
Stumps ready? The biggest party in sports is back. It's Republic Bank CPL 2025. Bowls off August 14th to September 21st. 34 matches, 6 teams, 6 nations. Pure Caribbean cricket frenzy. From big sixes to deadly yorkers, catch every boundary, every wicket, every moment. Live on GBN TV and Classic Radio. This is not just cricket. This is CPL. Sponsored by Republic Bank, Glen, and Hubbard. Republic Bank CPL 2025. Don't miss a ball.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Once again, it's to the point. It's moving up to just roughly 25 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour this morning. We have with us this morning, of course, the Honorable RedHead with us this morning here on today's program. And, of course, we discussing, we certainly will allow the opportunity to our listeners and viewers shortly to calling and ask a question or two that you may like to have. MP, there's a question I want to ask you. You being, of course, the Public Relations Officer of the National Democratic Congress. There's a lot of talk in terms of the corruption in government and so forth. What have you personally done to promote transparency and accountability, if I may ask you that in particular?
Right. Well, some of that is just talk. The truth is, today in the public service, there are more rules and procedures which helps prevent corruption, no more than ever than in the past. One I would say, for example, we've had a recent experience where we, through Sports and Culture Fund, we were able to assist the prison rehabilitation unit. Now, originally when they made the request, they were asking for 3 portable toilets. They eventually used only 1. And so the check we received to give them the support was for the tune of 3. We were since able to return that check.
Okay.
Right? And then redo the invoice to reflect 1. And it speaks to how we operate in St. George Northeast. Any attempt to, extract anything illegally, we immediately intervene. In fact, I reached so far just to ask the PS in finance, what is the specific procedure in this event? What are the options? And we opted to return the check. So even without getting a response at the time, we opted to return the check so that we could do the thing the right way. This is how we operate. People would move and say all kind of nasty things about you in politics. You have to live with it because that's the nature of the game, unfortunately, in the Caribbean politics. But certainly the National Democratic Congress, members of Parliament, I can't speak for all members of Parliament, really do its best to operate above board, and we remain very focused on what is at stake. And this is why it is, in some instances, very easy for once monies are paid out for people to exploit the situation. Because I'll give you an example. When people come to the constituency office and they say, well, Mr. Ron, may I have to do a medical. If they come to you and say that, and you are not asking for an invoice, and you are not asking for which medical institution you're using, and you're not asking for information, you're not verifying this request, it is very easy in a sense to give away the people's money. And so we take pride in ensuring that we have implemented systems, even through the constituency allowance, which we've just started. Right, it's been going on for over a year now. There is a mechanism of checks and balances whereby you must be able to supply something, an invoice or so, and even in some cases evidence that work actually did occur. It's something that we are keen on, and we are not here to pretend that we are perfect and holier than thou, but what I'm saying is that this is how we operate, particularly with taxpayers' resources. We don't play with that.
All right, so I'm happy for that clarification on that. There's another issue I want to talk to you about. about, sir. You know, you recently posted on Facebook, you know, pertaining to the bill dealing with the reproductive rights of minors.
Right.
You know, and what made you speak out, sir? What made you speak out, and what exactly, or should I say, where do you exactly stand on that particular issue?
No, well, I think for me, it's repugnant when I see pedophiles coming and try to defend and saying about the bill and this and that. For me, I think Grenadians need to speak about these matters a little bit more in a non-partisan, genuine, unbiased fashion, so that we actually understand first and foremost the intent, and then we work towards ensuring that when it is implemented, that all stakeholders are comfortable with what is being proposed. I think anything dealing with family, and in particular sex, is almost regarded as a taboo historically. You know, back in the days, grandparents used to tell, or mothers used to tell their daughters, don't touch a boy hand, you'll get pregnant. This kind of, in a sense, backward or aggressive
babies came on a truck and stuff like that. Yeah.
And that's the point. So I think now, coming from that era, and the change in our culture and our value systems, to a large extent, is now opening up the conversation to be had even at the highest office in the land. And so sometimes it is always easy for people to go down the road of hysteria. I would say this: if I am to compare this bill with what was being proposed during the COVID-19 situation, this bill does not interfere particularly with constitutional rights. I think what it does and seeks to do is to address a gap for minors as it relates to the question of sexual and reproductive health and access to those treatments. Because to a large extent, when we look at some of our criminal assizes every year, sexual crimes dominates, and particularly among minors, homes, people who you trust, etc. And so the question is, again, should the government do something about it and put its foot down and then encourage? I think yes. The manner, the particular wording, we can always discuss this. This is why what Honorable Prime Minister recommended was that we only put forward for the first reading, and then we would have to resume once Parliament resumes. We would be able to get the wording right potentially, and essentially get the debate on these bills. But it's good that Grenadians are interested in these conversations. I think I need to see more Grenadians protesting against the crime and violence and ensuring that the judiciary is enforcing the law when it hands down sentences, rather than trying to fabricate things and accuse people of doing things which we need in society.
You know, there were critics to your post, sir.
Yes.
You know, there were critics to your post, and you know, some folks see you as a young voice within the National Democratic Congress. So, you know, people feel your actions or your posts maybe lack a little bit of maturity. What you would say, or seriousness would say, what would you say to your critics in relation to that? You know, how they saw that particular post that you made?
Well, I think it's very mature to first and foremost take criticism.
Yeah.
And if you put yourself out there for public office, the need for people to criticize what you say and do is imperative. In my view, that is how you're going to get the best solution to any problem or dilemma that you face. That's one. Two, I think it's a very, very dishonest pattern by some, not all, to say to a member of parliament, for example, or a politician, or a minister, or whoever it is in terms of the position, that your role should only be to assist people with fridge, stove, some of these things which, in my view, I'm not living in the people's household. I don't know how I justify in all the time that we could take taxpayers' money to help people build their lives. And then when something is happening on a national scale that impacts all of us as Grenadians, we shouldn't have the right to do it, or we shouldn't this, and so on. So I think it's a mismatch in terms of our understanding as to the role of government. Right? Government is about passing laws, influence decision making, etc., etc. and most importantly, in my view, people. And so collaborating with people, hearing the views, whether it's a criticism or praise, etc., is important. I don't know, but if there were any other politician in my position where people are spreading lies on you, for example, commenting on their posts, cussing you, etc., I think they may have handled it different than I have done. I have maintained my sanity because when I speak, I have no horse in the race. I'm not worried about, thing. I think it's right and just to say things. I don't go around insulting people. I don't go around cussing people. I talk about issues and problems, not people and their business. So for me, if I raise an issue that is of national importance, I think I would have a right and a responsibility.
I mean, sometimes it comes around with the manner in terms of what it express. Sometimes people may not understand your feelings at the particular time.
Yeah, well, that's the drawback with social media. So the thing is, you see words, you don't hear tone, you don't hear expression. But, it's unfortunate sometimes that people often misread and have this bias, just like AI, but,
Understandably so.
Yeah.
So, but there's been recent conversation, and I can't let you go. I'm not sure if you're going to want to comment on it this morning, but, it's been out there, and I have to ask you, and as you're here with me this morning, it referred to that failing grade that we saw in your course at SGU. That's been out on social media and so forth. We saw your grade, of course, change from an F to a C and so forth. You want to comment on that, sir?
No, I don't want to comment on that, but I would say this, that, look, when people put out stuff and, they try to, what I would consider misinform, there are severe consequences to what one does. The picture that is painted there is certainly not true in terms of corruption and I mean, it's just...
But I guess you would understand how an individual may feel about it also.
No, well, that's not their business. I'm saying that irrespective of how individual feel, I don't go about spreading, individuals' bank account information, their driver's license, their studies information, ID number, etc. I don't go about doing that. So I'm saying irrespective of how individual feel, there are systems and policies in place. If you feel in any way, shape or form that there's a cause for concern and there's a process to resolve it, I think people need to stop majoring in minors. And if you ask me, I am keen on saying when I announce the graduation, I would open it up to the public and the person should come and hear the grades.
All right. I'm always happy to converse with you on those levels because you always give that direct answer and clarify where it needs to be understood, where it needs to be clarified. But we drew for a break. Let's take it. The phones are going. When we come back after the break, we certainly will entertain the calls from our listeners and viewers. Stay with us, folks. Don't touch it out.
The world rat infestation.
Corporation presents Fantastic Saturday. It's Panorama, the ultimate celebration of Pan, rhythm, and Grenadian pride. Saturday, August 9th at the National Stadium from 8 p.m. Bring the whole family, from the seasoned Pan lover to the youngest future Panist. This is more than a show. It's a cultural experience. A clash of steel orchestras, a symphony of talent. A night where our roots, rhythm, and unity take center stage. Tickets are just $10 for kids, 3 to 16, $50 early birds for adults, and $65 regular. Get them at godafed.com and all SMC authorized outlets. Fantastic Saturday, August 9th. Feel the music, live the culture, let the steel sing. Get ready to enter a world of color, music, and magic. The Spice Mass Corporation presents Children's Carnival Frolic Wonderland. It's the ultimate celebration of youth and culture, where fantasy meets festivity. Saturday, August 2nd, National Stadium. Showtime 11 a.m. See the best of Kiddies Mass, the electric energy of Junior Panorama, and the future stars of Junior Calypso Monarch, all on one big stage. And that's not all. There'll be face painting, bouncy castles, and a whole world of games and attractions for for kids to explore. Children ages 3 to 16, just $10. Adults only $25. Grab your tickets now at gotofed.com or any SMC authorized outlet. Bring the family, feel the rhythm, experience the magic. Children's Carnival Frolic, Wonderland, Saturday, August 2nd, where every child is royalty.
I'm ready to defend my crown. Iguana will be performing live, defending Carnage Soca Monarch. All they think a little curry meat me on the stage. July 25th, 31st, and August 8th, meet me on the stage.
We wild, we in style. When you see me chilling on that branch by myself, no company, no friends. Oh my gosh, I stumble when I meet till I tumble. Woman come in a bungle, wanna come from the jungle. Oh my gosh, I stumble when I meet till I tumble. Woman come in a bungle, wanna come from the jungle.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. If you see a smile on my face, myself and the all-arounder, we are just having a little bit of an off-air conversation there. Welcome back. So this segment, of course, we invite our listeners and viewers, if you do have a question or two, and I beg of you for time purposes that you be brief with your questions, or if you could do one, just do one and move on so we can accommodate as many callers as possible. Let's go to the phone line. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Telesford. Greetings and greetings to your guests. I have two brief comments with the added questions to Mr. RedHead. One, in your discourse, Mr. RedHead, you mentioned of how many people that you see or that visit your constituency office on a daily basis. The number, I think, given was 70 thereabout. But anyway, question is, have you ever analyzed why so many people in your constituency have to visit your office so frequently for assistance? Two, recently there were some bills passed in the Parliament of Grenada, which you were part of, related to the oath of allegiance and modification of the Constitution. Question, have you ever read fully Section 39, Section 111, and the three schedules of our Constitution? And in this case, if you have, can you quite succinctly as possible tell us what you learned from that reading? Thank you very much. I trust my questions are understood.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very much. Thank you, Brother Rolo. So the issue of people visiting the constituency, remember I mentioned on Thursdays, which is Constituency Day, that large amount, I'm saying the largest we had was around 70, 75, I think, that day. Particularly people come for different things, updates on stuff. We help with advice. We help with a number of different things throughout the constituency, not only tangible stuff. Interestingly, unemployment or the request for assistance with jobs, that has since fallen at the constituency level. The number one issue which we have challenges with now is housing. Some people are honest, some people are dishonest about it, and so oftentimes some people would get housing support and materials under false pretense, just so that they themselves maybe just want to add on rooms and all these kinds of crazy stuff. And so we often try to explain to them that this is taxpayers' money, and for us to justify that we can make the case for you to get assistance, you need to prove to us or show us the evidence that you need the assistance. And to a large extent, sometimes the people who often need these things, and this has been going on for a long time, sometimes even do not get it because they don't have the means either to travel to the office or XYZ. So we have seen a fall in the amount of people coming to the office, but I'm saying that the number still remains high. People come for different reasons. Some people want sponsorship for an event. They organize in a sporting sporting club, they have a new business idea, they have different things. So at St. George Northeast, we meet a lot of people, business people. We talk a lot about infrastructure, and we engage in all sorts of discussions with professionals who give advice. I meet with people who tell me they want to give me an idea on expanding the Tempe roundabout and so on. So it's along those lines. Not only one class or set of people we meet with, but a lot of people from all walks of life.
All right. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Caller, go right ahead, please, and be brief, please. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Good morning to everyone. Yeah, I just called to ask the minister one question. Minister, why the government remove the explosive from SSU camp and bring it into Grenville? Right? This was very, very dangerous. And this is the question I'm asking. Why move it from SSU camp and go and put it in Grenville?
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. You want to respond to the call?
Just quickly, just to say that the government, as central government, didn't do the removal, and you would have to ask the Gravel and Concrete that direct question. I am sure that they would be happy to answer. Just to go back to Brother Rulo's question on the Constitution, because it slipped me. As I read it, we do not need a referendum to change that aspect. The oath directly impacts politicians or members of parliament, to be direct, both in the upper and lower house, the Governor General, PSC Commission, Chairman, etc., people of that ilk. And so it does not require a referendum. But if people feel that a referendum is required, we have no difficulty in listening. So the government has announced that we're going to go ahead, pass this bill, and then in collaboration with the opposition of Grenada, engage in a series of public discourse and to come to a conclusion whether or not we would need a referendum as pronounced by the Honorable Prime Minister.
Okay, great. We do have another caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. Let's hear from you.
Hey, good morning, GT.
Good morning,
family.
Good morning.
I have two questions for you, family. The first question, right, concerning the $250 million, right, would that be in loan or would it also be in grant? And another thing, I want to know that if we're going to be doing like town hall meeting to really discuss with the people so the people have an idea, if it's going to be loan or grant. And my second question to you, we see information concerning your academic was linked. I want to know if you're going to look for any redress or some form of investigation, and the people who really expose that, no concern of them if you're going to take legal action against them.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much.
Right. So as it relates to the pronouncement with the co-financing for the hospital, I cannot comment on whether it is loan or grant at this moment. It was announced, it's discussed. Grenada is actively looking for all partners to support our ambitious plan, and as such, Afrexim Bank outgoing chairman did indicate their willingness and interest to support. As it relates, and yes, we would be having town halls. The other town hall is scheduled for September in the lovely island of Carriacou. As it relates to my own personal stuff, that is a matter that I am actively discussing with my legal team, and would be able to have a response in due course. The public would know what course of action is taken.
Okay, do we have another call? I guess we lost that caller. Let's go to the WhatsApp caller. Good morning, you're live. Let's hear from you. Be brief, please.
Good morning, GT.
Good morning to you.
Honorable RedHead, and also to the listeners and the viewers. I know there's not much time, so some of the things I wanted to raise with him, I would not be able. But in terms, Honorable RedHead, I think we're still missing the point when we deal with crime and violence, because we tend to want to go at the top, like the judiciary and so on, whereas the low-lying truths could be dealt with from the community. We have to admit that Grenada had been destroyed since invasion, systematically. Community have been distorted and so on. So there is no, like, people don't even know each other anymore. So we have to encourage situation and the environment where people will be able to engage each other and also be radically honest. There are people who know some of the people who are involved in criminal activity or engaged in illegal activity. And some people profit from that. We need to find a way of diluting that, making so that people are not invested in this kind of situation, because all of us are at stake. Our survival is at stake. If we look at the region as a whole, the region is under serious situation, whether it's Barbados.
Caller, for time purposes, I'm going to ask you to take another 10 seconds and wrap, please.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll end there. So I hope you can address that. We need a community development-led approach to dealing with a lot of the issues that we have. So we need to strengthen, rebuild the community development or ministry or something, and I don't think we're giving enough attention to that. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just briefly, yes, I agree. This is why I said a full-scale, multi-pronged approach is required, not only just the government, calling on the judiciary as well, but from communities and other stakeholders, as mentioned.
Right. We may be able to accommodate maybe just one or two more callers. Let's take our first one. Caller, I beg of you to be brief, please. Go right ahead, please.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go right ahead, please, caller.
Good morning. Okay. I'm happy to hear that my MP has said that the WASH program in St. George Northeast will start after the carnival. I'm happy to hear that, and this will certainly improve the lives of our people. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Let's take another caller, which will be my final caller for the morning. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning. I'm just calling for some clarification from the gentleman. The gentleman said that the general public raising concern about the sexual bills are pedophile. I'm wondering if that's the view of the gentleman about the public's concern, and should the public keep quiet? And I would also like for him to apologize to the public and set that straight.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Respond to the call.
Yeah, caller, I'm speaking specific to an individual who I saw, who I know, and the legal system knows. I'm not talking to the general public because I have engaged the general public on the matter, and I said that criticism on whatever we're doing in terms of relation to bills, etc., is welcome, certainly by this administration, and welcome by me as an individual as well. I am not opposed to criticism. So there's no apology in this regard. I am saying that we need more people striking and going on the streets against the question of gun crimes as well, in addition to all the other concerns that we have. Thanks.
Oliver, of course, we come to that time of the morning when we're going to have to take a wrap for today's, of course, conversation. I want to thank you a whole lot. I'll give you the opportunity. Anything in closing you want to say before we take a wrap?
So we have Pascal Siakam, the NBA superstar for the Indiana Pacers. He would be down at the Grandlands Hardcourt this afternoon. I encourage some onlookers. It's a basketball camp, and he's going to leave some parting words. There will be an opening and closing ceremony to commence around 3 p.m. today.
All right. So once again, sir, all the best, and hope to have you back as soon as possible. I'll get back on the show.
Definitely.
All right. Hey, folks, that's where we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. Join me again for another edition. That's where we say goodbye.